We are talking about education. Many college-bound students who are eligible for financial aid do not apply for it because they run into trouble completing a free federal application, an application which is a necessary step to receive money to pay for school. Furthermore, fewer Latinos fill out the application because some students might have parents who are undocumented. They may be undocumented themselves. And then there's always the complexity of the application may prove to be too challenging for so many people. Latinos are already the largest and fastest growing minority group. Hispanics will account for 60% of the population growth through 2050, and that's according to the U.S. Department of Education. Now, applying for financial assistance, it's a critical first step in increasing your college access, and getting that done is so important. Joining us today to help us understand FAFSA. ¿Qué es eso? They'll explain in just a minute. Marco Davis is the Deputy Director from the White House Initiative on Educational Excellence for Hispanics, which works to increase educational opportunities. Our good friend Shirley Acevedo Bontempo, founder and executive producer from Latino U College Access. That organization hosting several FAFSA workshops in our area. We'll tell you about those coming up. Welcome. Good to see you. Felicidades.
Likewise. Es un placer estar contigo.
FAFSA means?
The Free Application for Federal Student Aid.
And I think it was with the new year, it opened up, correct?
Yes, January 1st.
Which means the responsibility is now on parents more than the kids, right?
Yes, indeed.
And
yes,
is there a deadline? Is it better that it happens sooner rather than later?
Yes. So different states have different deadlines, but the bottom line is folks should try to fill it out as soon as possible.
Okay.
And the earlier you get in the queue, the better chance you have to access the funds.
And Marco, you told me earlier that the average time from beginning to completion of the FAFSA form is down to what?
21 minutes.
21 minutes.
Yes, indeed.
So it's been simplified.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Less than a half-hour TV show.
Okay. By 1 minute when you take out the commercials.
Exactly.
But surely, nonetheless, it's still a challenge for so many parents and kids, correct?
Absolutely.
Why so?
Particularly first-generation families and students whose parents have not gone to college or are not familiar with this. There was a recent study that indicated that 75% of Latino parents were not aware of what the financial aid options were or how the FAFSA form could be beneficial to them in receiving federal as well as institutional aid.
Marco, why is it critical that parents fill this out? I think there's an assumption that many people feel, A, they're not going to qualify, that it's not for me for any one reason. Help clarify some of those misperceptions.
I'll tell you, simply put, the most important reason why folks should fill it out is because the federal government each year gives out $150 billion.
Billion with a B.
$billion with a B. And some of it gets left on the table simply because not enough people apply and access those funds.
How much money can you actually get from the government to help pay for your college education?
Well, it varies, but there's significant amounts. The maximum Pell Grant Award, which is actually free money that doesn't have to be repaid, is somewhere in the neighborhood of $5,000 per year. Beyond that, there's work study, and then there's also loans. There are federal student loans that have fixed, lower interest rates that are very reasonable, that are worth accessing.
Shirley, you've been through, go ahead, you want to jump on that?
Well, in addition to the FAFSA boot camps and workshops, we host information sessions where we explain to families what are the different types of financial aid that are available. And oftentimes there's a misconception that financial aid comes in the form of one check, one source. What many families don't realize, especially Latino families, is that there are multiple sources of financial aid. There's a Pell Grant, there's a student loan, there's a work study, there's New York State TAP, and there are different types and different levels of loans. But you can't access any of that unless you do your FAFSA. And you can't even access sometimes college aid unless you do your FAFSA.
That's right.
Throw a number out at me because you've been down this road before with some of the students that you've helped in the last year or two. How much money did some of them get?
Well, we have assisted students who've received up to 100% financial aid because their family income is so low that the expected family contribution is either $0 to $5,000. Financial aid is awarded depending upon your family's income, how many students are in college, what are the expenses, and there's an expected family contribution, and what many families don't realize is that they qualify for a variety of levels of funding, and so they're leaving money on the table, particularly Latino families who don't understand the process or don't apply.
You were telling me before that the way to look at this now is what's the analogy, like you're buying a car.
Exactly, exactly. Folks look at the tuition listed on a college's website and they think, oh my gosh, that's too expensive.
Yeah, I'll
and
never make that. You know, they're blown
so
away
true.
by the figure.
Exactly. But if you think about it, when you go to buy a car, you see the price on the sticker on the window, and you don't say to yourself, I can't afford that car. You say to yourself, how much am I actually going to have to pay? No, hardly anybody pays that actual sticker price for a car. Hardly anybody pays full tuition, especially if they can show financial need. And that's the thing to keep in mind.
And is it laid out that way so that when you fill out the application, you see a bottom line figure that, okay, well, ultimately, maybe that's the out-of-pocket expense.
Right. Well, we've actually made a tool available that many colleges, several hundred colleges, have now adopted called the Financial Aid Shopping Sheet. And folks can request it. Folks can look at it on the U.S. government website, ed.gov, where it basically does break it down that way. It says tuition, it says federal aid, it says scholarships, it says family contribution. At the end, it says net price, how much you're going to have to pay.
Okay.
There are a lot of resources available for families and for students to understand what the financial aid possibilities are. What I encourage families to do is to get support and to look for organizations and places where they can get assistance, because their recent studies have indicated that with with assistance in the application process, you increase completion by about 40%.
Okay.
Many people don't receive financial aid because they inappropriately complete it, or they get stuck on a question, or those who have parents that are undocumented don't realize that they can still apply.
Yes,
it's the student that's applying, not the parent.
Which gets to the importance of the workshops that you guys are hosting coming up in a few weeks. We'll get to those in a second. Sit tight. I've got a whole bunch more questions for you. When we come back, more on getting federal financial aid for college. So important. Upcoming deadlines that parents and students need to be aware of. Of course, the financial aid provides money for school, and regretfully, too many students, many of them Latinos, do not take advantage of this. With us today, Marco Davis from the White House Initiative on Educational Excellence for Hispanics. Shirley Acevedo from Tiempo from Latino U College Access. Her organization will be hosting 3 FAFSA boot camps in our area. We'll give you the dates and the details on those in just a few minutes. I think part of the complexity, Marco, particularly for Latino families, is sometimes English isn't their first language.
Absolutely.
So if they get to this complex form and look at it, it's all in English, immediately they're turned off.
Yes, we have a solution for that.
What is the solution?
Simplest thing is if you go to FAFSA.gov, in the top right corner, there's a button that says En Español. Everything converts to Spanish. The FAFSA can be filled out completely in Spanish.
Entirely in Spanish?
Yes.
That's beautiful. There are some common mistakes also that people make that get in the way of getting approval. Walk me through 2 or 3 of those and how to fix them.
Yes, and we've actually got tools on the website that talk about 7 common mistakes, so folks can look at those to get help. But some of the ones that are important to know, one is signing it at the very end. And it's on a website, so it's the PIN. There's a 4-digit PIN that a parent and a student gets. You sign it by entering that PIN at the very end. Make sure to do that as your last step. Another thing is using their full legal name. It has to be the same name that matches the names on a driver's license or on a social security card. And so again, don't use an abbreviation. Don't use what you prefer. Use the name that matches so that it can show up together.
So if your name is Joseph, like mine, put Joseph, not Joe.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Many people, I think, have surely the understanding that because they're putting tax information, they need to wait to do this until the tax work is done for what would be 2014.
Right.
Not correct?
No, I mean a lot of families wait and to fill it out because they think that they need to wait until their income tax forms are completed for the prior year. But the FAFSA form allows you to use estimated numbers using last year's income tax.
2013.
The 2013.
Okay.
And then once you've completed your 2014 income tax, you go in and you update it. And we recommend that families do that. That they should use their estimated numbers. As long as you have a W-2 and you know what your income is for last year, you can put that in and then just work your tax numbers off of the prior year, the 2013 numbers.
Go ahead. You want to get the ball rolling, right?
Yes, and actually in a new update, an innovation, a breakthrough that we've had is that
breaking news, everybody, stand by.
The FAFSA completion information is actually now linked to the IRS information. So once you've entered and filled out your FAFSA information, as she mentioned, once you file your 2014 taxes, in most cases, it's actually going to pull over directly from the IRS all your correct financial information. So you won't have to figure out which number goes in which box.
Let me ask you this flat out. Do you need the 2014 returns before you can get final approval? Can it be done on the 2013 numbers?
So states and universities might actually make final decisions based on that. The federal decision will be made on your federal taxes, so you want to still do them sooner.
Okay.
But you get into the queue earlier, and you start getting allocated funds based even on the estimates.
Right. So the important thing is to go back in and update it,
Okay.
particularly for the federal funding
Yes.
that you're applying for.
But again, time is of the essence because despite the figure being $150 billion, the money is doled out as
it comes in,
as
the
comes
requests
in.
come in. Exactly.
So the
when
longer
you're
you
in
wait,
April,
the less
when you're
money.
in May, there's less money available. So even though you may be eligible for more money, if there's less available, you're going to get a smaller award.
Okay. Shirley, I know your organization is based out of Westchester County. You have 3 FAFSA workshops coming up at local high schools?
One is at a local public library in White Plains, and 2 of the other workshops are in the high schools in
Okay.
White Plains and Sleepy Hollow. At our workshops, what we do is we recruit volunteers that will sit at a computer station together with a family and help them complete the form.
Okay.
Help them to answer any questions they may have and guide them through the whole
I
application.
think we've got a full screen that shows the actual dates of when this is going to happen. Here it comes, January 18th. That one is at...
January 18th is at the White Plains Public Library. They've been partners and collaborators, and it's the 2nd year that we host one there.
And then February 5th and 10th.
February 5th is going to be at White Plains High School, and
Right.
February 10th is going to be at Sleepy Hollow High
Sleepy
School.
Hollow, right near Tarrytown.
Correct.
If I'm correct.
Correct.
Now, yes, these are in Westchester County, but if people see this and they live in New York City and want to make
Come
the ride
on up.
north,
We'll
come on
help-
up.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll be happy to assist any family that comes up, as well as we'll be happy to accept volunteers that want to donate some of their time to come and work with families.
A lot of the success of filling out on the application is based on the paperwork that you bring with you. What should people be sure to have with them before they go to a workshop like the ones that Shirley is doing?
So, and again, we have a tool on our website that lists sort of what you need in order to fill out the FAFSA, that you can go to FAFSA.gov and find that. But some basic things that people need to make sure to have is their Social Security number,
Yep.
their W-2s, if they have them from the last year, their taxes from 2013, so they can use that as an estimate, a driver's license if they have one. Those are the main pieces, if I remember correctly,
And
that they need.
bank statement.
And a
And bank
statement.
statements in terms
Correct.
of what they're...
In terms of what savings
Before
is.
we're out of time, Shirley, and this is so important, many undocumented think they can't apply.
Particularly those with undocumented parents. If a student is undocumented, they do not qualify for federal aid, but they can still complete the FAFSA in a paper version and send that into their university in order to appeal to the university for college aid, institutional aid. But if you are a student who has documentation and is a permanent legal resident or has a Social Security number, but your parent is not,
Right.
you can still apply.
Okay.
The secret is to put the numbers 000 where it asks for your parents'
That's why
information.
going to a workshop is so important.
Which is kind of like the aha moment
Yes.
for a lot of our families. We have many first-gen students that were born here whose parents came here to give their children a better life and
Right.
opportunity, and the children don't apply even though their parents
10 seconds.
Two super quick important facts also. It doesn't depend on grades, so it's not like you have to have
Correct.
straight A's
Right.
to apply for financial aid, and there's also no upper income limit. So also don't think you don't qualify.
Yeah.
Fill it out and find out.
Good points there. Thank you both
Great
very much.
points.
Appreciate it. For more information, you can on Latino U College, 914-648-0239 is the number. LatinoUCollege.org is the website if you want to go there. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you, guys.